Ashton Jeanty is on pace to beat Barry Sanders' single-season rushing record. If he's able to do this, this would secure him as one of the best college running backs to play the game. With the Heisman Trophy also in reach, Jeanty has been unstoppable this season. But how did this journey even begin? Ashton Jeanty was born in Jacksonville, Florida in 2003, but his childhood was far from normal. His family's military background meant frequent travels, and they would rarely stay at one location for more than a couple years. I'm sure this made it hard for Jeanty to fit in, always having to make new friends, but this adversity growing up I'm sure served him well in his future. One of the most significant trips his family took was their 3-year stint to Italy. While the move to Europe broadened his cultural perspective, it robbed him of what he loved most: competitive football. With no organized leagues available in Italy, Ashton had to play with kids that didn't really care too much about the sport. Italy is mostly known for their love of soccer and any sport with wheels. Formula 1 and cycling are the two big ones. Because of this, Jeanty could really only dream of playing the game that he loved at the next level. He would even often watch highlights of football legends like Barry Sanders and Reggie Bush, hoping one day he would follow their footsteps. His father, a disciplined military man, took note of Ashton's love for football and was determined that his son wouldn't fall behind. They would wake up before dawn and train. Even without a team, Jeanty's focus on drills, running routes, and staying in top physical condition kept his dream alive. The road ahead was uncertain for Jeanty's family, but they were only doing their best to make sure Ashton could live out his dream. Eventually, after staying 3 years in Italy, the family would move back to the US to Frisco, Texas. Do I even need to say anything about Texas football? Texas sleeps and breathes football, and this would give Ashton the platform he needed to prove himself. He enrolled at Lone Star High School, a program known for developing elite athletes, but unlike his peers, Ashton was coming off of a long period without any organized football. And the question he would ask himself is, can he even keep up? He's not only playing in the US now, but he's playing in the most competitive state to play football in. Any doubts about Jeanty's potential quickly faded once he stepped onto the field at Lone Star. Despite his time away from competition, he made an immediate impact at running back. The high school coach even stated that it was actually a tough move for the team because they already had good athletes in the running back role, and their team was actually stacked with talent. They had a 4-star receiver, Marvin Mims, who is currently in the NFL. They already had another established junior tailback, and they had a player, Jaden Dixon, who's now at Oklahoma State. And could you believe that they even tried Jeanty out at linebacker for a little bit? I don't even have to tell you that if you just look at Ashton Jeanty just for a few seconds, you can tell the position he was born to play, and it wasn't linebacker. Aside from looks, he had the speed combined with the ability to read defenses, and this made him the perfect running back. And once he settled into this new role on the team, he started making an immediate impact, and by his junior year, he was already being recruited by major colleges, getting heavily compared to one of NFL's all-time greats, Barry Sanders. But this doesn't mean that Jeanty didn't have any competition. Texas high school football is no joke. It's where future NFL stars are forged. Yet, Jeanty thrived in this environment, consistently putting up good numbers and making highlight reel plays week after week. His versatility, being as dangerous in the receiving game as he was in the running game, added to his value as well. But it wasn't just his stats that made him special, he was actually a team leader. By the time his senior year rolled around, Jeanty had accumulated over 2,000 rushing yards and was a 4-star recruit, and he definitely had his pick of college offers. So when he committed to Boise State, it definitely turned some heads. Why would you commit to Boise, a school outside of the Power 5 conferences, and not to one of these big name schools? Well, he wanted to go somewhere where he can make an immediate impact and actually help elevate the program. Boise State was known for the history of producing underdog stories, and with their history of winning, this made it the perfect fit for Jeanty's chip on the shoulder mentality. As a freshman at Boise State, Jeanty showed flashes of what could be a great college career. He didn't start immediately, but when he did get his opportunities, he made them count. His breakout came in his sophomore season. Jeanty rushed for an astounding 1,347 yards and 14 touchdowns, while also adding 569 receiving yards. The Mountain West Conference couldn't contain this guy, and at this point, he was really drawing some strong comparisons to Barry Sanders. Like Sanders, Jeanty had a rare ability to make something out of nothing. Whether it was a broken play or a defense keying in on him, Jeanty found ways to create yardage on every play. Jeanty's production in his sophomore season put him on pace to challenge Sanders' record, and as his junior season began, it became clear that the Heisman Trophy was within reach. Unlike other Heisman contenders, Jeanty's humility and team-first mentality really sets him apart. There's a quote that I found from Ashton Jeanty that's been circulating online I wanted to share. I like to say I'm a Christian disguised as an all-American running back. I've learned that God has blessed me with amazing talents. I've just been able to do a lot of great things with it. But at the same time, not losing yourself in it and understanding that my identity is in Christ. This is so powerful, and I think one of the main reasons he's loved by Boise State fans. And of course, the record-breaking stats help too. Now, through the first half of the 2024 season, Jeanty has been a statistical juggernaut. He started his opening game against Georgia Southern, and Jeanty rushed for 267 yards, breaking a 46-year-old single-game record for Boise State. He also tacked on 6 touchdowns, which tied their stadium's record in the Mountain West record. And his rushing and scoring performance were the best of any FBS rusher during week 1. But things would continue to get crazier for Jeanty. A game versus number 7 ranked Oregon in week 2 would prove just how good Ashton Jeanty actually was. With the history of Oregon somehow losing to Boise State despite honestly being the better team, this made for an interesting matchup. It was a crazy back and forth game, and Jeanty would record 192 rushing yards and 3 touchdowns and a 70-yard run as well. This would be followed by his worst performance this year with 127 yards on 11 carries. That's right, his worst performance of the year, and he still managed to rush for over 10 yards per carry. But following this game, he probably had the best rushing performance of the year against Washington State in week 4, with 259 rushing yards and 4 touchdowns. And he hasn't slowed down since. Now about midway through the season at the recording of this video, Jeanty has recorded 1,248 yards on 126 carries, which pretty much averages at just 10 yards a carry. And he also has 17 touchdowns. He's now in conversation with some of the greatest college running backs of all time like Derrick Henry and Reggie Bush. But honestly, their stats don't even come close compared to what Jeanty has been able to accomplish this year. If we compare Jeanty's stats midway through the season to the other 3 Heisman winning RBs, I think the stats speak for themselves. And now the question is raised on whether he's going to be able to break Sanders' all-time rushing record with 2,628 yards set in 1988. If he keeps this pace up, he definitely will, but only time will tell. And the obvious elephant in the room is that the only reason Ashton Jeanty is able to be this successful is because he's not playing for a Power 5 school. Do we really think that he'd be able to put up these numbers if he played at a Power 5 program? Honestly, I don't think so. It was a risk that Jeanty had to be willing to take. What if he played for a smaller school and just had a mediocre career, as opposed to maybe playing for TCU or Texas, for example, where their names alone would give you a better chance of making it into the NFL? But it seems like the risk has been paying off, and we can only speculate about how things would have been if Jeanty went to a bigger school. But the truth is that he's not going to a bigger school, which I think makes his story so unique. Ashton Jeanty's journey is nothing short of remarkable. From a kid that spent 3 years overseas in Italy to now becoming one of the greatest college running backs to play the game is why I love college football. In many ways, his story is still being written, and as he continues to pile up yards and touchdowns at Boise State, the road to being one of college football's all-time greats won't get any easier. But given what we know and what we've seen from Jeanty so far, I think he's gonna thrive under the pressure, and will continue to navigate the highs and lows of his career. Be sure to check out my newsletter, linked down below, and to subscribe to the channel. I will see you next time. Peace out.